I love it. It's one of my favorite guys I've ever heard. Okay, guys. So we're going to get started. I know people are jumping on, and I do have a special guest, but I want to give you guys a lesson first. So I really want you to kind of be honest, and I know we like to start in the chat. So how has y'all's mindset been this week so far on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being like you're really in the pooper, and 5 being you are like, you've had a great mindset? Because I'm going to be really honest, this week I've had a lot of challenges thrown at me this week. So I'm like skirting around the 2 to 3 have been that I know today will give me a little bit better. But I'm curious to see where you guys are also. Isn't it funny? People, yeah, lots of 3s. That's where 2s and 3s, same. That's exactly. Hey, Toby, I'm glad you're on. That is, that's kind of where I've been too. So, okay, I know this looks like a lot, but I heard the best podcast, and I just want to share you guys, share with you a couple of things. Oh, you know what? We are recording. Good. Oh, thanks, Heather. Man, I almost forgot. Okay. I want to share with you guys a couple things. So I heard this podcast, then we're going to get into our guest speaker. I heard about this podcast. If you've ever heard of Ed Mylett, Adam honestly is obsessed with him and has met him, and they've masterminded a couple of times. And so I've been listening to some of his podcasts, and he talked about one this morning. He had a guest on there, and they were talking about negative thinking works. And I, in full transparency, have felt my mind slipping a little bit to a negative space this week. And so this really resonated with me. So I want to just run through this, and I wrote a lot of it down so I didn't forget to tell you. But here's some simple stats about negative thinking. Your increase in errors can go up 30% when you're thinking negatively, which is crazy to me. Negative thoughts are 4 to 7 times more powerful than positive thoughts are. 83% of illnesses, this is from the Mayo Clinic, 83% of illnesses are actually exacerbated by negative thinking. Saying things out loud makes them 10 times more powerful. And if they're negative, they have a 4 to 7 times multiple. So you are actually increasing your chances of them happening 40 to 70% more if you say negative things out loud. You actually verbalize them out loud. And then he talked about the consumption of negativity, basically negativity in the news. So 3 minutes of negative news can increase, is an increase in 27% that people had a terrible day. Can you believe that? Y'all, that like totally shocked me. And he said, same with negative people. So you have to keep this stuff out of your proximity. And then he talked about when you're trying to change your life or your mindset, you have to stop speaking negative thinking out loud. Of course, if we could all never think another negative thought again, that would be amazing. The likelihood of that happening is slim to none, but we can control the words that come out of our mouth. So we have to stop speaking negative things. So he gave 2 examples, and you guys, these examples blew my mind, and this is going to walk us right into our special guest. So he gave the example of it's 1986. It's the World Series game. The Red Sox are playing. They're in the 9th inning. The game is basically over. Like he said, other players were undressing already and getting their uniforms off. And he said, a guy named Bill Buckner, any of you like baseball fans, you guys will maybe know about this. This was a news story to me. A player named Bill Buckner, Heather, you probably have heard of this. Keith probably has. He boots a ground ball between his legs, and they end up losing the game and then lose the World Series. They likely have said it's the biggest error in a championship game that was ever made. So that was like enough in itself. But then there was an after story. So 6 years ago, actually, I think it was 2013, so almost 7 years ago now, the 1986 Interview World Series, they show an interview that had been hidden for 9 years. There's a local news station that interviewed this Bill Buckner, and he says on the interview, my dream would be winning the World Series, but my biggest nightmare would be letting a ground ball go through my legs and losing us the World Series. Can you guys believe that? So, and there's like, yeah, I'm going to research the story because I want to hear more about it, and I want to try to go find that interview. If one of y'all find it, send it to me. But here's the deal. Saying it didn't make it happen, but it likely increased the probability 40 to 70% that he spoke it into existence. And so Ed Mylett talks about he recoiled to his subconscious plant under pressure. So just to kind of explain that to you really fast. we have a conscious state of mind, and then we have our subconscious state of mind, obviously. But there's a thing called our subconscious plan. And what that means is when we are under tremendous pressure, we can revert to our subconscious plan. We might revert to a subconscious thinking that we had. And so he obviously was thinking that in the back of his mind, and under pressure, that's unfortunately what he went to. And so it just like, it proves the power. So then there was one more story, and this one was crazy. And this leads us kind of into what we're going to talk about today. So, so he gave an example of a guy who took the ACT. Okay. So typically I never took the ACT. In Kentucky, we took SAT. In Kentucky, we took the ACT. I don't know if who of you guys took the SAT. But typically when people aren't doing well in school, or maybe they're an underperformer, or they're not from an educated background, a lot of times they won't take the SAT, or they won't do well when they do take the SAT. So there was this guy, I don't know his name, honestly, I missed that part, but he promised his mom that he would take the SAT. So he took the SAT and in May, and in June, he got his score back. 1480 out of 1600 on the SAT is what this kid scored. And he didn't come from a great background. He never went to class. He was a huge underperformer in school. He didn't make good grades. You get the story. So just to give you an idea, because I didn't know anything about the SAT, but Ed Mylett, who I consider a millionaire, maybe even billion, no, I think he's a millionaire, entrepreneur, he shared on the podcast, he got an 870. Maybe some of you guys can post what you got if it was, but I didn't know. So anyway, so this kid gets his score back, 1480 out of 1600. So his mom confronted him and said, "Did you cheat? Just be honest and tell me." And he said, "Mom, honestly, I tried to cheat, but I actually wasn't able to. The way that they had the seats placed and the what are those things called? Scantron, is that what it's called? The way that they had them set up," he said, "I couldn't cheat, so I just did my best." And so his mom was like, "You're kidding me." So here's the crazy thing. Based on the decision, or based on the score that he got, he made the decision that he was going to start going to class. So then his teachers started to see him differently, because maybe they had missed something in him before that they didn't see. He wasn't hanging out with the same people anymore. He ends up going to a community school. Then he went to an Ivy League school. Then he gets an MBA. His life was completely changed. He became an incredible magazine editor and then an entrepreneur. Then here's the kicker. After 12 years of this guy's success, he gets a letter from Princeton, New Jersey. And he's married by now. He has a kid. He doesn't think anything about it. His wife said, "Are you ever going to open that letter?" She's going to do what every wife does. "I'm just going to open it for you." So the SAT board did a standard review of their test taking policies. And the year that he took the SAT, there were 13 scoring errors, and his was one of them. And it turns out he scored a 770 out of 1600. How crazy is that? But here's the deal. People think that the 1480 is what changed his life. It wasn't. I have total goosebumps right now. Wish you could see him. What really changed his life was that he was acting like the 1480 in his life. And how true is that? So here's what I want you to think about. What is this lesson? Change your thinking, change your life, change your world. And I'm going to be really honest. We have a lot of changes that need to happen in our world right now. And quite frankly, with everything that's going on, I've taken so much pause this week. And honestly, I think it's what's given me so much kind of like anxiety, if I'm just being real and transparent. And so I saw this and I thought, man, this is so true, because my whole life I am not a racist person. I love everybody. I'm a Christian, and so I really, honestly, I saw this and it says Christ and racism don't mix. You can't say you love God and hate his creation. And that's what I believe my whole life. You can't say you love God and ignore when people are killing his people. And honestly, I've come to the realization though lately that quite frankly, that's not enough. It's not enough to just say that you're not racist. It's not enough to say that you are a Christian, or that you are a faith-based person, whatever your faith may be. We have a serious problem, and we really need to enact change. So I am super excited to have Terrell Patton on. Terrell, are you on? Do we need to unmute you?
I just did it, so we won't play the mute unmute.
Thank you. Okay, I'm stopping because I want people to see you. Are you there? There you are. I see you.
All right, there we go. Cool. Hey,
Being
thank first and foremost, Dana, thank you so much for having me on today. This is such a pleasure. I'm typically on here on Wednesdays. I actually hold my team meetings on Wednesdays, but you get me going before 2 hours later, I have to jump on and lead over 200 agents, about 80 that's on that call every Wednesday. So I definitely jump on here when I can. So I'm excited to be sharing with you guys today.
Well, I'm appreciative that you're always on. Ever since the very first time I was introduced to you, me and you just instantly hit it off. Your energy,
100%.
I can feel it from a mile away. So I just love me some Terrell. And
100%.
actually, I do want to ask you a question before that I didn't tell you I was going to ask you, because I think you have great energy and you always have a great mindset. How do you keep your mindset so strong and so good all the time?
Well, it's almost like you said earlier in the piece. I think of myself because I have to lead people. I have to, and I'm a big energy person anyway. I have to always keep a positive mindset. In some ways that I do that is, I run.
Yep.
So anytime, people think I run. One, I run because I want to be healthy, of course, like anyone else. But one, if I'm having something that's weighing on me or that's down, I don't care what time it is, I'm going to go out and I'm going to hit that trail, and something about running just kind of relieves, and then I'm back to my true authentic self. So that's one of the things is I have to feel energy from other people, and people wants to be around. I think I heard this from John Maxwell. He said, people want to be around more and more. People don't want to be around someone whose energy is low or who's negative thinking. They want to be around more and more. So that's always stuck out to me as well, that I want to bring more and more to people.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay, I jumped right into, because I just love your energy, that I forgot to ask you to tell people who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
All right, well, you see my name. I'm Terrell Patton. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. And they're going through it right now, like a lot of cities, and that just tears me up. But yeah, I'm from St. Louis, grew up there. I've been in Atlanta for about 24 years now. So I got out of St. Louis when I was 2. No, just kidding. But I left St. Louis about 24 years ago, and I'm in Atlanta now. Atlanta is home.
And you're the CEO of Keller Williams office in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. For the last 10 years, been the CEO of Market Center here in Atlanta. Yes, Dana.
And you have some of the most beautiful kids I think I've ever laid eyes on. They look like your brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I hear that quite a bit.
Well, you have twins, right?
Yes, I have twins that are 24, and I have an older daughter that's 28. And I have a granddaughter that's 3.
Cutest. So. You guys have to go friend Terrell on Facebook so you can see how beautiful his kids are. Okay, so Terrell, I felt like you were the perfect person to be able to lead us through what's going on, because I've been thinking about this so much, and honestly, I swear, Heather, some of y'all know this, I had a migraine yesterday, my stomach's been upset, and honestly, I think it's just because there's so much angst going on. And I'm going to not speak for everybody, but I'm going to speak for me as a white person. Sometimes I don't think we know what to say or how to express ourselves or how to help or what to do. And so one, I want to start with, how has this been affecting you personally and those that are around you and your loved ones?
Great question, Dana. I mean, it has torn me up, to be honest. First and foremost, you mentioned my kids a minute ago. I have a Black son. I have 2 daughters and a Black son that's 24 or 20, just made 25. I'm sorry, in May. And everyone, even the officers, everyone wants to just make their community better, have a good life. We're human beings first, and everyone that's just what we want. And for years now, I've had to talk to my son about, when he gets pulled over, what he needs to do. you know, I think that's the realization that a lot of people don't understand is we have to have those conversations. And how it has affected me is to see this is happening over and over and over again, Dana. It's like, when does it stop? It's just, it has torn me up.
Yeah.
It has torn me up, but I also feel that I'm in a position and I have a platform to help people understand, you know, what it is that Black men go through.
Yeah.
You know, so it has affected me, of course, but there's no change that comes without being hurt, like really hurt. And I think now is a time for us as a society to address these issues. And so it's torn me up, but it's also given me a platform, or given me a reason to now make sure that I have those fierce conversations and those tough conversations.
You know, Terrell, I'm glad that you said that, because as I was thinking through this, and I just have been reading everybody's social media posts, and you know, we've talked about on here, people don't do things because we tell them to. They do things when they self-discover, and people only self-discover through 3 ways: questions, stories, or experiences.
Absolutely.
And we are hearing these stories, you know, never thinking about the fact that my mom didn't have to have those conversations with my brother, that you've had to have them with your son. Those are stories that I think people need to hear, because it makes us think differently. You know, it's just I don't know, it's a different way of thinking. And it's needed. It's very needed. How can you share with us maybe an example, because of this? And I think people hearing stories is the most important. Maybe how the color of your skin has ever affected you in a business way.
Oh yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday, Dana. Like I said, I've been the CEO of this Atlanta Market Center for 10 years. So when I became the CEO of the Market Center, this Market Center, basically I had maybe 5 or 6, within the first 2 weeks, I had 5 or 6 white agents leave the Market Center and go to different market centers across town immediately.
Wow.
Never had a chance to sit down with them, never had the chance for them to get to know me. They immediately left this Market Center. Mind you, the Market Center, we were coming out of a correction. I think the Market Center had only 40-something agents at the time, and now we're over 200. But they never gave me a shot. And it's funny, 2 out of the 6 actually came back to the Market Center within a year, once they got to know me. And so but it was heart-wrenching when it was going on. But like I said, tough times make you tougher, and you come through, and there's a bigger, I felt that I always had a bigger purpose for being here. But that was the immediate thing. And I can't say it wasn't tough. I almost wanted to quit, because they were 6 out of the 10 producers that we actually had in the Market Center. And for 6 cappers to walk out right when I took the job, I had to question myself for a split second to say,
did you make the right decision?
am I the guy? Am I the guy? So that was a great question, because how many Black people may have been in positions and then didn't get the support right away, and then just said, you know what, I was doing fine on my own. I could have just went back into production. And I thought about it, but then I thought about my purpose, and I thought about my Black son. Like, in which way could I impact his life more? Being a CEO, or still running my real estate business? So that drove me through. But think about how many Black men would have just went back and said, you know what, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
So
Man.
that was an experience that came to mind when you asked that question.
Well, thank you for sharing that story. And for me, I just can't even imagine that, because if anybody has even a 30-second conversation with you, I mean, I just know how great of a leader you are. And so it just, and honestly, my gut, this is probably not the nice thing to say, but my gut is, man, that was their loss.
Yeah.
Because I just know, I know you, I know how you are. So, okay, Terrell, let's just be real vulnerable and honest. And I want you to kind of just lead us and share with us what your advice would be for white people, non-African Americans, to really activate change, and to just think, for those people, honestly, like myself, who thought, I'm not a racist person. I love God and God loves everybody, but the reality is that's not enough. And that's been, honestly, that's been one of my biggest life lessons. And I've learned that in the last week. And so I just thought, if I'm struggling with this, I know that surely I'm not the only one on the Zoom that is. So I would love for you to just give us some of your wisdom and advice, and kind of lead us through that.
Absolutely. I would say two things. One, why is it this is a question that you have to ask yourself as a white person. Why is it that I feel threatened by a Black male? You have to ask, when you're walking down the street, why do you not speak? Why do you clutch your purse a little bit? Why, as a white male, you may look a certain way? You have to ask yourself, why is that? So that's number one. And then the second part of that, how I feel that each person should channel that and try to fix it, is maybe friend a Black person. And if you have a Black friend, ask tough conversations. And as a Black male, I have to be open to that too. If you're gonna ask tough questions, I need to be prepared and answer those, because you're coming from a place of curiosity. And I think a lot of the fear comes from not knowing. And there's a book that I don't know if you guys have read. It's called Fierce Conversations. And in Fierce Conversations, Susan talks about the conversation is the relationship.
Yeah.
The conversation is the relationship. So just as you make care calls, or you have your clients on drip campaigns and you talk to them quarterly, find a few Black people that you can talk to, and start that dialogue, and ask, on a scale from 1 to 10, how open can I be with you, and how can I ask you questions, because I'm coming from curiosity.
Yeah.
And ask the tough questions. Ask the questions of, why you do these things, or why do Black kids do these things, or why, and you get to know, because there's a reason, and just starts the conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that removes the fear. And when you don't have fear and you have understanding, you treat people as human beings. Because like I said earlier, all any of us want to do is make our communities better, go home to our families, live good lives. Yeah, you may put different things on your salad than I do. That's a cultural thing. However, we all just want to be able to eat our salads and raise our families in peace. So my advice would be, befriend a Black person if you don't have one. If you do have one, ask the tough questions. Get permission to ask the tough questions, because it's all about the dialogue, and it's got to change. And we are a society, Dana, like this platform you have right here. Man, this is amazing. I mean, you're starting the conversation.
Yeah.
You're starting the conversation. And we have 3 minutes. So if someone has a question, start it right now. You can ask me anything.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be transparent.
That's exactly why I'm blessed and thankful that you said yes to do this, because I respect you so much, Terrell. And I think you're such a great leader and you're such a great person and you're a great friend and
Thank
all of those things. And actually, I do want to ask you one more question because Missy just made me think of it. And this wasn't something that I had originally told you, but what advice could you give someone to help teach their kids about this? Anything different than that? Because I know there's several people on here who are working through talking to their children.
Yeah. I would just say that's it right there. Just even the conversation with your kids that, you know, I think if you explain to kids how, depending on the age, but how some, like most African American males or African Americans, period, they whites start off a little ahead of the game than them. You know, they come from two-parent households, and not all, but we're talking majority here. Two-parent households, you know, great income. They're not worrying about, and this is through school, that whatever age they are, there's Black kids in their community and in their schools, or Black kids that are in their same grade, that they're not getting their studies done at night because they're worried about what they're going to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, as they get older, they're not worried about their studies at night because they're from a one-parent household and mom has to work 2 jobs. So they're 12 years old taking care of the 5-year-old while mom is at work. Mom doesn't come home to 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. So they're not getting sleep. They're not eating properly. So just, you know, just talking, and and that's no fault of theirs, right? Not the kids. And there's no fault of the white kids, right? That they're more privileged than them. But if they know about it and understand it,
Yeah.
kids are special.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you there'd be kids sneaking an extra sandwich to school to feed them, but they don't know. They just think that Black child is being lazy or less than, or so I think the conversation should be more geared toward the differences of the household and what could be going on in that child's life, because then it will raise curiosity with the child, and even these tough conversations will start even sooner.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched a video. I know we're about out of time, but I watched it. If you guys can just hang on like one more minute, because I have a slide I want to show you. But I watched a video this morning. Actually, you know what? I'll go back and find that and share it in our Facebook group. But it was really great. It talked about how like redlining still happens in some states. And I mean, it was fascinating to me as I'm doing some of this, fascinating in a bad way, but as I'm doing some of this research, and they talked a lot about that, about how we don't think about how some of the African American kids at school, they're not getting the same chances because one, they still live in an area that's been redlined, and so their parents can't even buy a house. I mean, it just was. Yeah. There's just so much more, and I think, like you said, this is just the start, and to us having conversations. Yeah. Abby, that's a great. Thank you for the recommendation. Abby typed a book into the chat, so that is.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's really great. Well, Terrell, I love you to death. I am so thankful for your friendship. Honestly, I wish we could see each other more because I miss you.
I know, I miss you too. Everything's getting canceled across the country, so
I know.
I'm not getting my dose of Dana right now, but it's all good. This has been cool.
Well, thank you for doing this. Thank you for sharing. Can they find you? They can find you on Instagram, Facebook, right?
Yes, it's just my name, Terrell Patton, like the general. Facebook is, I'm on both platforms, but it's Terrell Patton. On Facebook, it's T Patton Broker, at T Patton Broker on Instagram. I'd love to connect with you guys.
Yes, definitely. Terrell posts great stuff. So go follow him. And then really lastly, I just want to leave you with this. Two quick things. Some of you are posting on social media. Some are protesting in the streets. Some are donating silently. Some are educating themselves. Some are having tough conversations, just like Terrell said, with friends and family. A revolution has many lanes. Be kind to yourself and to others who are traveling in the same direction. But the most important part, just keep your foot on the gas. And then I'm going to post this in the Facebook group. These are just a couple of petitions that you can go and sign. I did this yesterday, so I know that it works. So put your quotes into action. I thought that was great. And then lastly, here's your homework for the week. Spend some time doing research, and then honestly take some time and just pray for the families of not only Brianna and Ahmad and George, but everybody. And do the action items that Terrell gave us. Ask ourselves those questions, and then think about how we can have conversations. And honestly, guys, those of you that know me know I've taken the actual class Fierce Conversations multiple times because it was something that I was not good at. And so I would just encourage you to look to have those conversations with people. And then let's give some love to Terrell in the chat. I know all of you have. Blair has never been so excited for a special guest today. So thank you so much, Terrell. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Anything I can ever do for you, you know that I'm here, and I appreciate you so much. And
absolutely. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Thank you all for being on. Have a great week, and just go love some people, because this is all stressing me out too. I know it is, you guys. Thank you. Have a good week. Thank you, Terrell.
Thank you.